Let's be honest, life is hard. You wake up, drag yourself through the motions, deal with stress, expectations, and responsibilities. Sometimes wondering, is this it? You see people posting about their perfect lives, always smiling, always winning, always living their best life. Meanwhile, you're just trying to survive the day. Maybe you've been through heartbreak. Maybe life threw you curveballs you never saw coming. Maybe no matter how much you try to stay positive, things just don't seem to go your way. And then you hear the classic advice, just think positive. Happiness is a choice. Look on the bright side. Let's be real. If happiness were that easy, everyone would have figured it out by now. But here's the thing. Happiness is not just for the lucky, the wealthy, or the people who have it all figured out. It's for you, even if you feel lost, stuck, or completely exhausted. Even if life has knocked you down more times than you can count. Even if you have no idea where to start. And that's exactly why this book exists. This isn't some fluffy, unrealistic, just be happy guide. I'm not here to sell you a dream that everything will magically fix itself overnight. This is about real happiness, the kind that lasts, the kind that doesn't disappear when life gets messy, the kind of happiness that helps you keep going, no matter what you're facing. Why happiness matters, especially when life is hard. Happiness isn't just a nice to have. It's the foundation of everything. Think about it. When you're genuinely happy, you're stronger. You make better decisions. You attract better relationships. You bounce back from setbacks faster. You stop wasting time chasing things that don't matter, and you start building a life that actually feels good to live. But when you're unhappy, everything feels like a struggle. You second-guess yourself. You feel drained. You tolerate things that don't serve you. And worst of all, life starts to feel like something you're just getting through instead of something you're truly living. That's why happiness isn't a luxury. It's essential. Not the fake, forced kind of happiness that makes you pretend everything is fine when it isn't, but the kind of happiness that comes from within, the kind that helps you navigate anything life throws your way. The big mistake everyone makes about happiness. Here's what nobody tells you. Most people are chasing happiness in all the wrong places. They think happiness will come when they finally get the job, the money, the relationship, the house, the dream life. They convince themselves, I'll be happy when, and then what happens? They get it, and the happiness fades. The excitement wears off. They set a new goal thinking, maybe this time I'll feel different, and the cycle continues. That's because happiness isn't something you get. It's something you create. It doesn't come from outside achievements, perfect circumstances, or avoiding problems. It comes from inside you, from your mindset, your habits, your perspective, and the way you show up for yourself every single day. How to use this audiobook to change your life. This is not just a book to listen to. It's a book to live. Every chapter is designed to give you practical, real, and actionable ways to start shifting your happiness from something that feels out of reach to something you actually own. To make the most of it. 1. Listen with an open mind. Some of the ideas in this book might challenge the way you currently see happiness. Be willing to question old beliefs and try new perspectives. 2. Don't just listen, take action. You don't need to change everything overnight, but small shifts, done consistently, will completely transform your happiness over time. 3. Be patient with yourself. You won't wake up tomorrow and feel magically different. But if you stick with this, if you apply what you learn, your life will start to change in ways you never expected. 4. Remember, happiness isn't about perfection. You're still going to have bad days. You'll still face challenges. But instead of feeling trapped by them, you'll learn how to navigate them without losing yourself. a journey worth taking. If you're here, it means some part of you is ready for a change. Maybe you're tired of feeling stuck. Maybe you've tried everything and nothing seems to work. Maybe you're just done settling for a life that feels like it's happening to you instead of for you. Whatever your reason, know this: happiness is possible for you, not someday, not when everything is perfect. Right now. All you have to do is take the first step. Are you ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. Understanding True Happiness. Happiness. It's the one thing every human being desires, yet so many people spend their entire lives searching for it in the wrong places. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I get that job, when I meet the right person, when I have more money, when my problems go away. But what if I told you that none of those things actually create real happiness? What if happiness isn't something we find after we achieve our goals, but something we can cultivate right now, even when life is far from perfect? The idea that happiness is a destination, something we reach once everything is in place, is one of the biggest lies we've been sold. If you've ever felt like happiness is always just out of reach, like no matter what you do, you still feel like something is missing, then you're not alone. But the good news? You're about to learn the truth about happiness, and once you do, you'll never look at it the same way again. From an early age, we are conditioned to believe that happiness comes from external achievements. Society teaches us to chase after things: money, success, relationships, believing that once we obtain them, we'll finally feel complete. But how many times have you gotten what you wanted, only to feel empty again soon after? That's because real happiness doesn't come from getting more. It comes from understanding what truly fulfills you on a deeper level. In this chapter, we'll break down the biggest myths about happiness, uncover the difference between fleeting pleasure and lasting fulfillment, and explore why even during the darkest times, you can still find joy. Defining happiness beyond circumstances. Let's start by redefining happiness. Most people confuse happiness with pleasure. Pleasure is a temporary state, a burst of excitement when you buy a new gadget, an adrenaline rush from an adventure, the thrill of a new romance. But pleasure fades. The excitement of a new car eventually wears off. The rush of a new relationship settles into routine. The high of an accomplishment passes, and soon you're looking for the next thing to chase. Real happiness, on the other hand, is deeper. It's a state of contentment, peace, and fulfillment that remains even when life isn't perfect. Think of happiness like the ocean. The surface may be chaotic, with waves crashing and storms rolling in. But deep below, the water remains still, untouched by the turbulence above. That depth, that unshakable sense of peace, is what true happiness feels like. It's not about avoiding problems or eliminating struggles. It's about cultivating an internal foundation so strong that no matter what happens around you, you remain steady. When you shift your focus from chasing temporary highs to building long-term fulfillment, you stop depending on external circumstances to determine your emotional well-being. Common myths about happiness. One of the biggest myths about happiness is that it's tied to success. We grow up believing that once we reach a certain level of success, whether it's financial security, career achievements, or social status, we'll finally feel complete. But how many wealthy, successful people do you know who still seem miserable? Success and happiness are not the same. You can be wildly successful and still feel empty, just as you can have very little and still feel deeply fulfilled. Another common myth is that happiness means the absence of problems. This belief makes people think, once I fix my life, I'll be happy. But problems never truly go away. Life will always present challenges, setbacks, and difficulties. If happiness is something you postpone until everything is perfect, you'll never experience it. Instead, Real happiness comes from learning how to navigate struggles with grace, from finding meaning in hardships rather than resenting them. And then there's the belief that other people are responsible for our happiness. How often do we place our emotional well-being in the hands of others? If my partner treated me better, I'd be happy. If my boss appreciated me more, I'd feel fulfilled. But the moment we make someone else responsible for our happiness, we give away our power. True happiness comes from within. It's something you create, not something you wait for others to provide. The difference between pleasure and fulfillment. To truly understand happiness, we need to recognize the difference between pleasure and fulfillment. Pleasure is momentary. It's eating your favorite dessert, scrolling through social media for instant gratification, or spending money on things you don't need just to feel a temporary rush. Fulfillment, however, is lasting. It's the feeling you get when you contribute to something greater than yourself, when you grow as a person, when you align your actions with your values. Think about the times you felt deeply satisfied. Maybe it was after working hard on a project you believed in. Maybe it was when you helped someone in need. Maybe it was when you finally let go of something toxic and reclaimed your peace. Those moments weren't about quick pleasure. They were about something deeper. When you shift your focus from seeking pleasure to building fulfillment, you create a happiness that isn't easily shaken. Why tough times can still include moments of joy. Now, let's address the question that might be on your mind. How can I be happy when life is falling apart? It might seem impossible to experience happiness when you're dealing with loss, stress, or disappointment. But the key is understanding that happiness isn't about ignoring pain. It's about finding light, even in the darkness. Some of the happiest people aren't those who have had easy lives. They're the ones who have faced hardships, but chose to find meaning in them. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote about how even in the darkest moments of suffering, people could still find purpose. He saw fellow prisoners who, despite starvation and cruelty, found joy in the smallest things. A kind word, a shared piece of bread, a glimpse of sunshine through a window. This proves that happiness isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about perspective. When you learn to appreciate small moments of joy even during difficult times, you take back control. A bad day doesn't have to mean a bad life. Even in the midst of stress, you can still find moments of peace. A deep breath, a favorite song, the warmth of a cup of tea. Learning to seek out these small joys trains your brain to focus on what's good rather than what's missing. Understanding true happiness is the first step in transforming your life. It's about shifting from external validation to internal fulfillment, from temporary pleasure to lasting contentment, from waiting for happiness to actively creating it. You don't need perfect circumstances to be happy. You don't need to fix every problem before you allow yourself to feel joy. You simply need to redefine what happiness means to you and start cultivating it from within. As we move forward in this journey, remember this: happiness is not something you chase, it's something you build, one small choice at a time. And even when life gets tough, you have the power to create a sense of peace and fulfillment that no external situation can take away. Chapter 2. The Power of Perspective. Life is not what happens to you. It is how you see what happens to you. Two people can go through the exact same situation and come out with completely different experiences, one feeling defeated, the other feeling empowered. What makes the difference? It's perspective. The way we interpret the world around us shapes everything, from our mood to our actions, from the way we handle stress to how much happiness we allow ourselves to feel. If you've ever felt like life keeps throwing challenges your way and that happiness is always just out of reach, it's time to shift your perspective. Because the truth is, happiness is not about having a perfect life. It's about seeing life in a way that allows you to find meaning, growth, and joy, even in imperfection. How often do we assume that our happiness depends on our circumstances? We think that if things were different, if we had more money, if we lived somewhere else, if we had a different past, we would finally be happy. But what if I told you that happiness has far less to do with what's happening around you and far more to do with what's happening inside you? Your thoughts, the stories you tell yourself, and the way you interpret events determine how you feel every single day. This is why two people can face the same hardship, and one will crumble while the other will rise. Their circumstances are the same, but their perspectives are not. If you can shift the way you see the world, you can transform your entire experience of life, no matter what challenges come your way. How your thoughts shape your reality. Every experience you have in life is filtered through the lens of your mind. Imagine two people walking in the rain. One person grumbles, thinking, "Of course, just my luck. Rain on the one day I forgot an umbrella. This is just another sign that my life is a mess." The other person smiles, thinking, "The air feels so fresh. It's been so hot lately. This rain is actually refreshing." The rain is the same, but one person feels miserable while the other feels gratitude. This is what happens with everything in life. Your mind assigns meaning to what happens to you, and that meaning determines how you feel. If you tell yourself that a setback is proof that you're a failure, you'll feel hopeless. If you tell yourself that a setback is just a lesson, an opportunity to grow, you'll feel empowered. The event itself doesn't create your feelings. Your interpretation of the event does. Most people live as if their thoughts are facts. If they think, "I'm not good enough," they believe it. If they think, "My life is never going to get better," they accept it as truth. But thoughts are not facts. They are just stories we tell ourselves, and we have the power to rewrite those stories. The problem is, many of us have been telling ourselves negative stories for so long that we don't even realize we're doing it. We've conditioned ourselves to expect the worst, to doubt ourselves, to assume happiness is out of reach. But the moment you start questioning these old beliefs, everything changes. Imagine if, instead of thinking, "I'll never be happy," you started thinking, "Happiness is something I can create, even in difficult moments." Imagine if, instead of "Life is unfair to me," you thought, "Every challenge I face is making me stronger." Imagine if, instead of "I'm not good enough," you told yourself, "I am constantly growing, and I am worthy of happiness." These shifts may seem small, but they are powerful, because the way you talk to yourself determines how you feel, how you act, and ultimately, what kind of life you create. The science behind optimism and resilience research shows that our brains are wired to focus more on negative experiences than positive ones. This is called the negativity bias, and it's a survival mechanism. In ancient times, our ancestors had to be hyper-aware of threats, predators, dangers, anything that could kill them. So the brain evolved to pay more attention to the bad than the good. But in today's world, this bias doesn't help us. It holds us back. Instead of keeping us safe, it keeps us anxious, stuck in worry, always expecting the worst. The good news? You can rewire your brain. Studies have shown that people who practice optimism and gratitude literally reshape their neural pathways. The more you train your mind to focus on what's good, the easier it becomes to see the positive in any situation. Optimism isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to see possibilities instead of limitations. It's about deciding that no matter what happens, you will find a way to grow from it. Resilience is the same. Resilient people don't have easier lives. They just have different ways of thinking. Instead of seeing failure as an endpoint, they see it as feedback. Instead of seeing pain as meaningless, they find lessons in it. Instead of believing life is against them, they believe they are strong enough to handle whatever comes their way. And because of that, they are strong enough. Your mindset isn't just something that affects your mood. It determines your entire experience of life. Reframing struggles as opportunities for growth. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to reframe struggles as opportunities. This doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It means choosing to see difficulties as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Think of the hardest thing you've ever been through. At the time, it probably felt impossible. But looking back, can you see how it shaped you? How it made you stronger, wiser, more compassionate? Often, our greatest struggles lead to our greatest growth. The problem is, when we're in the middle of a hardship, we don't have that perspective yet. But what if you trained yourself to look for the lesson while you were going through it? What if you asked yourself, how is this shaping me? What am I learning? How can I use this to become better? Every difficult situation holds two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. The choice is yours. When you shift your perspective from, why is this happening to me, to what can I learn from this, you take back your power. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the author of your story. How to develop a positive mindset, even in pain. The key to maintaining a positive perspective isn't pretending that everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging pain while also choosing to focus on what you can control. It's about balancing realism with hope. It's about reminding yourself that nothing is permanent. Not joy, not pain, not struggle. Everything changes, and the way you see your life determines how you move through those changes. Start small. Practice gratitude, even for the little things. Challenge negative thoughts and replace them with more empowering ones. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. Read stories of people who have overcome difficulties. It will remind you that you are capable too. Most of all, give yourself grace. Changing your perspective takes time, but every small shift adds up. When you change the way you see the world itself begins to change. Because the truth is, happiness isn't about avoiding hardships. It's about learning to see life in a way that allows you to experience joy, even in the midst of struggle. And once you master that, nothing can take happiness away from you. Not circumstances, not setbacks, not even failure. Chapter 3. Managing stress and overwhelm. Stress is inevitable. No matter how much you try to control your environment, eliminate problems, or plan ahead, life will always find a way to throw unexpected challenges your way. You might be juggling work deadlines, family responsibilities, financial struggles, health issues, or emotional burdens that seem too heavy to carry. And when everything piles up at once, it can feel as if you're drowning, gasping for air while the weight of the world presses down on you. Overwhelm sets in, and suddenly, even the smallest tasks feel impossible. You tell yourself, I can't do this. It's too much. I just need things to slow down. But they don't. The world keeps moving, the demands keep coming, and you feel trapped in a cycle of stress that never seems to end. But what if I told you that stress itself isn't the real problem? That the pressure you feel doesn't come from your circumstances, but from the way you respond to them. You see, stress is not just a reaction to what's happening around you. It's a result of how you perceive those events. Two people can experience the exact same situation, and while one crumbles under pressure, the other handles it with a sense of calm and control. The difference isn't in their workload or responsibilities, it's in their mindset, habits, and ability to manage stress effectively. If you can learn to master your response to stress, you can reclaim your peace, even in the midst of chaos. The truth about stress: why it's not the enemy. You think it is. Most people think of stress as the villain, something to be avoided at all costs. But stress itself is not the problem. It's our relationship with it. Believe it or not, stress can actually be a good thing. It's your body's way of preparing you for challenges, keeping you alert, and pushing you to perform at your best. In small doses, stress can enhance focus, boost productivity, and even improve resilience. The problem isn't stress itself. It's chronic stress. When stress becomes overwhelming and constant, it starts to take a toll on your mental, emotional, and physical health. Think of stress like fire. A controlled flame can keep you warm, light your path, and even cook your food. But if that fire spreads uncontrollably, it can burn everything down. The key is learning how to manage stress rather than letting it consume you. This begins with understanding that not all stress is bad, and that your ability to cope with it depends on how you approach it. Instead of seeing stress as something that controls you, you must learn to take control of it. Why we feel overwhelmed. The science of mental load. Overwhelm doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from the feeling that you can't handle what's in front of you. It's not just about workload. It's about mental load, the weight of all the thoughts, worries, and responsibilities constantly running through your mind. Your brain is like a computer, and when too many programs are running at once, it starts to slow down. The same happens to you. If your mind is cluttered with endless tasks, self-doubt, and stress, you'll struggle to focus, make decisions, and take action. The good news is that overwhelm is not a sign that you are weak or incapable. It's simply a sign that you need to reorganize your mind and priorities. Your brain is not meant to hold on to everything at once. When you try to juggle too many things mentally, you drain your energy before you even take action. The key is to offload some of that mental weight, whether by writing things down, delegating responsibilities, or simplifying your approach to challenges. Practical strategies to reduce stress and regain control. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you need strategies that don't just offer temporary relief, but actually rewire your response to stress. Here are some of the most effective ways to regain control. 1. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. One of the biggest sources of stress is trying to control things that are beyond your power. How many times have you lost sleep over something you wish you could change, but couldn't? The way someone treated you. A decision that didn't go your way. A situation that felt unfair. The truth is, most of what stresses us out is outside of our control, yet we exhaust ourselves trying to fix or predict the outcome. The key to reducing stress is to shift your focus to what is within your control, your actions, your mindset, and your response. When you accept that some things are simply not yours to control, you free yourself from unnecessary worry. 2. Break the cycle of overthinking. Overthinking is one of the biggest fuel sources for stress. You replay conversations, analyze worst-case scenarios, and spiral into a mental loop of worry. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't solve problems, it creates them. The more you dwell on what could go wrong, the more anxious you feel. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, stop and ask, is this helping me find a solution, or is it just making me feel worse? If it's not leading to action, let it go. The power of small wins. When you're overwhelmed, everything feels urgent and you don't know where to start. But instead of trying to tackle everything at once, focus on one small win. Completing even a minor task, like making your bed, answering an email, or taking a deep breath, gives your brain a sense of progress, which reduces stress and builds momentum. One step leads to another, and soon you regain control. The reset button. Deep breathing and grounding techniques. When stress takes over, your body shifts into fight or flight mode. Your heart races, your muscles tense, and your mind floods with anxious thoughts. In these moments, your best tool is your breath. Deep breathing signals to your nervous system that you are safe, helping you calm down instantly. Try this. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 6 seconds. Repeat until you feel a sense of calm returning. Grounding techniques, like focusing on the feeling of your feet on the ground, holding something cold in your hands, or naming 5 things you see around you, also help pull you out of stress and back into the present moment. building long-term resilience to stress. Managing stress isn't just about short-term relief. It's about building resilience so that stress doesn't control your life. This means prioritizing self-care, setting boundaries, and learning to say no when necessary. It means making time for things that recharge you, whether that's exercise, nature, creative hobbies, or simply moments of quiet. It also means shifting your mindset about stress, seeing it not as something that weakens you, but as something that challenges you to grow stronger. The truth is, stress will always exist. You will always have responsibilities, challenges, and unexpected setbacks. But how you respond to them is what determines your happiness. When you learn to manage distress effectively, you regain your peace, your power, and your ability to move through life with confidence. And that is what will truly set you free. Chapter 4. Overcoming Negative Thoughts and Self-Doubt. There is a voice inside your mind, subtle yet persistent, whispering doubts into your thoughts at the most inconvenient moments. It tells you that you are not enough, that you will fail, that others are better than you, that no matter how hard you try, you will always fall short. It questions your abilities, magnifies your mistakes, and keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt that feels impossible to escape. It reminds you of every past failure, every rejection, every moment of embarrassment, and convinces you that those moments define you. You replay them over and over, reinforcing the belief that you are incapable, that you are undeserving, that you should not even try. And yet, despite its cruelty, you listen. You accept its words as truth, allowing it to dictate your choices, your confidence, and your future. But here is what you must understand. That voice is not your truth. It is not an objective measure of your worth. It is not a prophecy of your failures. It is a conditioned response, a habit formed through past experiences, societal pressures, and fears that have gone unchallenged. And like any habit, it can be broken. Self-doubt is not a reflection of reality. It is a distorted lens through which you view yourself. It is the sum of years of criticism, comparison, and limiting beliefs that have built up in your subconscious. You were not born doubting yourself. You did not enter this world questioning your worth. As a child, you were fearless, unapologetic, and curious. You took risks, fell down, and got back up without questioning whether you were capable. You believed in your dreams without hesitation. So what changed? Where did that unshakable confidence go? It was chipped away slowly through experiences that made you question yourself. Maybe it was the teacher who dismissed your ideas, the parent who unintentionally made you feel like you were never quite good enough, the friend who made a careless comment that stuck with you longer than it should have. Maybe it was the failure that embarrassed you, the rejection that hurt you, the fear of not being accepted by the people around you. And over time, those small moments built up, forming a belief system that convinced you that you were less than you truly are. But here's the thing. Beliefs are not facts. They are perspectives, shaped by experience, but not set in stone. And just as they were created, they can be restructured, rewritten, and replaced with something more empowering. You do not have to live your life at the mercy of self-doubt. You do not have to believe every negative thought that enters your mind. You have the power to challenge them, to rewrite them, to take back control. It is not about silencing self-doubt entirely, because it will always try to creep in. It is about learning to recognize it for what it is. A voice, not a truth. A habit, not a destiny. And when you understand this, you gain the power to rise above it. Understanding the root of negative thoughts. Negative thoughts do not appear out of nowhere. They are planted, nurtured, and reinforced over time, often without us realizing it. The brain is wired to prioritize negative experiences over positive ones, a survival mechanism inherited from our ancestors who needed to remember dangers more than successes. This negativity bias means that one hurtful comment outweighs 10 compliments. One failure overshadows years of progress. One rejection feels like proof of inadequacy rather than a temporary setback. But this wiring, while useful for survival, is not useful for self-worth. It keeps you stuck in cycles of self-doubt, focusing on everything that could go wrong instead of everything that could go right. To break free from this pattern, you must first identify where your negative thoughts originate. Were they planted by a specific experience? Were they shaped by comparisons to others? Do they come from a fear of failure, a fear of judgment, or a fear of the unknown? Once you pinpoint their source, you can begin to dismantle them. You can question their validity, look for evidence that contradicts them, and choose new beliefs that serve you rather than limit you. Self-doubt thrives in ambiguity. It survives because you have never truly questioned it. But once you do, you will begin to see it for what it is: a house of cards built on shaky foundations, waiting to be knocked down. Challenging your inner critic. Your inner critic is loud, relentless, and convincing. It knows your insecurities, your weaknesses, and your fears, and it uses them against you. But its power comes from repetition, not from truth. If you have spent years telling yourself that you are not good enough, your mind has accepted that as fact, not because it is true, but because it has been reinforced over and over. The way to weaken this voice is to challenge it. Every time a negative thought enters your mind, pause and ask yourself, is this thought based on facts or just fear? Have I ever seen evidence that proves this wrong? Would I say this to a friend? If not, why am I saying it to myself? What is a more balanced, realistic perspective? By questioning your negative thoughts, you take away their power. You stop accepting them as truth and begin to see them as what they truly are: habitual patterns that can be changed. And once you start rewriting these patterns, you start changing the way you see yourself. Reprogramming your mindset. Overcoming self-doubt is not about ignoring your weaknesses or pretending failures do not happen. It is about shifting your focus from what is wrong to what is possible. Instead of dwelling on what you lack, focus on what you have. Instead of fixating on what could go wrong, focus on what could go right. Instead of fearing failure, see it as a necessary step toward growth. The thoughts you feed will shape your reality. If you feed self-doubt, it will grow. If you feed self-belief, it will flourish. The choice is yours. One of the most effective ways to reprogram your mindset is to practice self-affirmation with evidence. Generic affirmations like, "I am amazing," often do not work because your brain does not believe them. But when you back them up with proof, they become powerful. Instead of saying, "I am successful," say, "I have achieved difficult things before, and I am capable of doing it again." Instead of saying, "I am confident," say, "I have faced challenges before, and I have grown from them." By grounding affirmations in evidence, you make them believable, and over time, they will replace the old doubts that once controlled you. Taking action. Despite self-doubt. Self-doubt tells you that you need to feel confident before you take action. But the truth is, confidence comes from action, not before it. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable. The more you try, the more you succeed. And the more you succeed, the more you believe in yourself. This is how confidence is built, not through waiting, but through doing. Start with small acts of courage. Speak up in a conversation when you normally would not. Take on a challenge that intimidates you. Try something new even if you are not sure you will be good at it. Every step forward weakens self-doubt, proving that it was never the truth. It was just a fear waiting to be overcome. You do not have to be perfect to be worthy. You do not have to have everything figured out to move forward. You do not have to silence self-doubt completely to succeed. You just have to stop letting it control you. You are more capable than you realize. You are stronger than your fears. And the moment you start believing that, everything changes. Chapter 5. Building self-confidence and inner strength. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It is not reserved for the lucky few who seem to walk through life unshaken by fear or doubt. It is not about arrogance or pretending to be something you are not. Real confidence, the kind that anchors you even in the face of uncertainty, is not about knowing all the answers or never making mistakes. It is about trusting yourself, your abilities, your decisions, your resilience. It is about knowing, deep in your bones, that no matter what happens, you can handle it. But if confidence is something that can be built, why do so many people struggle with it? Why do so many feel unworthy, hesitant, or afraid to take up space? The answer lies in conditioning. From an early age, we are shaped by experiences that either reinforce or diminish our sense of self-worth. Maybe you were taught to be humble to the point where you began to downplay your strengths. Maybe you were criticized more than you were encouraged, leading you to believe that nothing you do is ever good enough. Maybe you faced rejection, failure, or ridicule that left scars on your self-esteem, convincing you that you are not capable or deserving. And so, like layers of dust settling over time, self-doubt accumulates, dulling the vibrant self-belief that once came naturally. But here is what you must understand. Confidence is not about never feeling insecure. It is about learning to move forward despite insecurity. It is about stepping into discomfort and proving to yourself again and again that you are capable. Confidence is not about the absence of fear. It is about not letting fear dictate your choices. And the good news? It is a skill. And like any skill, it can be developed, strengthened, and mastered. The foundation of confidence, self-awareness, and acceptance. Before you can build confidence, you must first understand yourself, the real you, beyond the doubts and fears. Confidence does not come from external validation or the approval of others. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you are capable of. Many people seek confidence in the wrong places: achievement, recognition, perfection. But true confidence is built on self-acceptance. Start by taking an honest look at yourself, not through the distorted lens of self-doubt, but with clarity and kindness. What are your strengths? What have you overcome? What qualities make you unique? It is easy to focus on weaknesses, but confidence grows when you shift your attention to what you do well. Make a list of everything you have accomplished, big or small. Every challenge you have faced, every skill you have developed, every time you pushed through discomfort, these are all evidence of your strength. The more you recognize your own worth, the less you will need external validation to feel secure. Self-acceptance does not mean ignoring areas for growth, but it does mean recognizing that your value is not determined by perfection. You are not defined by your mistakes, your failures, or the expectations of others. You are worthy simply because you exist, and once you start believing that, your confidence will become unshakable. Breaking free from the need for approval. One of the biggest obstacles to confidence is the fear of what others think. The desire to be liked, accepted, or validated can be paralyzing. It can make you second-guess your choices, hold back your opinions, or shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. But here is a truth that will set you free. No matter what you do, not everyone will approve of you. And that is okay. Trying to please everyone is a losing battle. People's opinions are shaped by their own experiences, biases, and insecurities. It has little to do with you. Confidence comes when you stop seeking permission to be yourself, when you stop apologizing for taking up space, when you realize that your worth is not determined by whether others approve of you. The moment you let go of the need for validation is the moment you become truly free. Practice making decisions based on what you want, not what others expect. Speak your truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Set boundaries without guilt. The more you honor yourself, the stronger your confidence will become. Because confidence is not about being fearless. It is about being unapologetic in your authenticity. The role of action. Confidence comes from doing many people. Believe that confidence is something they must wait for, as if one day they will wake up and suddenly feel ready to take risks, chase their dreams, or put themselves out there. But confidence does not come before action. It comes from action. The more you do, the more you prove to yourself that you can. Every small step forward weakens self-doubt, replacing it with self-trust. Think of confidence like a muscle. If you never use it, it weakens. But if you push yourself, even slightly outside your comfort zone each day, it grows stronger. Start with small challenges. Initiate a conversation. Say yes to an opportunity. Express an opinion without hesitation. Each time you do something that scares you, you build resilience. And over time, what once felt impossible will become second nature. Fear thrives in inaction. The longer you wait, the more power self-doubt gains. The key to confidence is to take action before you feel ready. Because the truth is, you will never feel completely ready. But the more you push through, the more you will realize that readiness is a myth. Courage is what truly matters. Resilience, the backbone of lasting confidence. Confidence is not about never failing. It is about knowing that failure will not break you. Life will challenge you. You will face setbacks, criticism, and moments of doubt. But the difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise is resilience. True confidence is not about never falling. It is about always getting back up. Resilience means learning from failure rather than fearing it. It means seeing rejection as redirection, setbacks as stepping stones, and challenges as opportunities for growth. The most confident people in the world have failed more times than they have succeeded, but they do not let failure define them. They see it as feedback, adjust, and keep going. Developing resilience requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing difficulties as proof of inadequacy, see them as evidence of strength. Instead of fearing imperfection, embrace it as part of the process. Remind yourself that every great success story is built on failures, rejections, and obstacles. The only true failure is giving up. Becoming the most confident version of yourself. Confidence is not about perfection. It is not about having all the answers or never feeling insecure. It is about trusting yourself enough to take risks, knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. It is about owning your strengths, embracing your flaws, and showing up fully without fear of judgment. It is about living your life on your terms without shrinking to make others comfortable. The journey to confidence is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more of who you already are. It is about stripping away self-doubt, external expectations, and old fears until what remains is your truest, strongest self. And when you reach that place, when you finally stop waiting for permission, stop doubting your worth, and start believing in yourself, everything changes. Because confidence is not about never falling. It is about knowing without a doubt that you will always rise. Chapter 6. Developing Emotional Resilience and Coping Skills. Life does not go as planned. No matter how carefully you prepare, no matter how much effort you put into creating stability, life has a way of throwing curveballs. Loss, disappointment, failure, heartbreak, uncertainty. It is inevitable. Some people break under pressure, letting hardship consume them, while others seem to rise above, adapting, growing, and finding strength even in the most difficult circumstances. The difference? Resilience. Emotional resilience is what allows a person to face adversity without being destroyed by it. It is not about avoiding pain or pretending difficulties do not exist. It is about learning to withstand them. It is about developing the mental and emotional tools that allow you to bend without breaking. And the good news? It is something you can build, strengthen, and master. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you develop through experience, choice, and mindset. People who are emotionally resilient are not fearless, nor are they unaffected by hardship. They still feel pains, disappointment, and stress, but they have learned how to navigate these emotions without letting them take over. They have learned how to process challenges without losing themselves in negativity. They do not let failure define them. They do not let rejection break them. They do not allow life's setbacks to convince them that they are powerless. Instead, they adapt, they learn, and they grow. So how do you develop this kind of resilience? How do you train yourself to face difficulty without collapsing under its weight? It begins with a shift in perspective. Most people see challenges as threats, something to be feared, avoided, or resented. But resilient people see challenges as opportunities for growth. They understand that hardship is not a punishment. It is a lesson, a test, a chance to become stronger. They see pain as temporary, struggle as part of the process, and failure as a stepping stone rather than an endpoint. They do not waste time wishing life were easier. They focus on becoming stronger so they can handle it, no matter what comes their way. Reframing challenges. The power of perspective resilience is built in the moments when things do not go your way. It is developed in discomfort, in struggle, in uncertainty. But the key to resilience is not avoiding hardship. It is learning to interpret it differently. Many people experience the same setbacks, yet some are broken by them, while others rise above. Why? Because the way they view hardship changes everything. Imagine two people lose their jobs unexpectedly. One sees it as a personal failure, proof that they are not good enough, and falls into despair, convinced that they will never succeed. The other sees it as an opportunity to reassess their path, to explore new possibilities, to grow. The situation is the same, but the reaction is different. One mindset leads to powerlessness, while the other leads to action. This is the difference perspective makes. The way you talk to yourself in difficult moments determines how you navigate them. If you tell yourself, "This is the end, I will never recover," you create that reality. But if you tell yourself, "This is tough, but I will figure it out," you empower yourself. Resilience is not about suppressing emotions. It is about choosing a perspective that fuels your strength rather than feeds your despair. Whenever you face difficulty, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this challenge make me stronger? What is within my control and how can I take action? What would my strongest, most resilient self do in this moment? By shifting from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What can I do about this?" you take back power. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as the author of your response. Emotional regulation, controlling your reactions. One of the biggest obstacles to resilience is emotional overwhelm. When something painful happens, emotions rise: anger, sadness, frustration, fear. These emotions are natural, but if left unchecked, they can take over, clouding judgment and making things worse. Resilient people are not emotionless, but they do not let emotions control them. They feel, but they also manage those feelings effectively. When something upsetting happens, take a moment to pause before reacting. Emotions are like waves. They rise, peak, and then fall. If you react at the peak of emotion, you often make impulsive decisions, say things you regret, or act from a place of fear rather than logic. Instead, practice emotional regulation. Breathe. Step back. Let the emotion settle before deciding what to do next. Here are some ways to regulate emotions. Label what you are feeling. Instead of saying, "I am overwhelmed," say, "I am feeling frustration and uncertainty." Naming emotions reduces their intensity. Practice grounding techniques. When anxiety rises, focus on deep breathing, movement, or even holding a cold object to bring yourself back to the present. Reframe your inner dialogue. Instead of, "I can't handle this, Tenny," say, "This is difficult, but I am strong enough to get through it." Take constructive action. Even small steps towards solving a problem can reduce emotional intensity and increase a sense of control. Resilience is not about suppressing emotions. It is about guiding them, so they do not guide you. Building a mindset of strength and growth. Resilient people believe in their ability to overcome. They trust that they can handle whatever life throws at them. This belief does not come from luck or blind optimism. It comes from experience, from proving to themselves that they can rise even when they fall. Every challenge you overcome is evidence of your strength. One of the most powerful ways to build resilience is to develop a growth mindset. A growth mindset means seeing challenges as opportunities to improve rather than as threats. It means believing that abilities, intelligence, and emotional strength can be developed through effort and experience. When you have a growth mindset, failure does not define you, it teaches you. Hardship does not defeat you, it strengthens you. To develop this mindset, start recognizing moments of resilience in your own life. Think of past hardships you have overcome. Remind yourself of the times you thought you would not make it, but you did. The more you focus on your strength, the more you will trust it. Taking control. Becoming the architect of your resilience life will challenge you. It will test you. But the strongest people are not those who never struggle. They are the ones who refuse to let struggle define them. Resilience is not about avoiding pain, but about developing the strength to move through it with courage, clarity, and purpose. You have survived every difficult moment in your life so far. You have overcome pain, disappointment, and fear. And you are stronger than you realize. The next time life throws you a challenge, remind yourself, "I am resilient. I am capable. I will rise again." Because resilience is not about never falling. It is about knowing that, no matter what happens, you will always stand back up. Chapter 7. Cultivating Gratitude and a Positive Mindset. Gratitude is often misunderstood. It is not about pretending everything is perfect, nor is it about ignoring pain, struggle, or difficulty. True gratitude is not forced positivity. It is a shift in perspective, a conscious choice to focus on what is still good, still meaningful, still valuable, even when life feels overwhelming. Gratitude is not about denying hardship, but about refusing to let hardship define your experience of life. And when cultivated consistently, gratitude becomes one of the most powerful tools for emotional resilience, happiness, and personal transformation. There is a reason why so many successful, content, and deeply fulfilled people practice gratitude daily. It rewires the brain. Neuroscience shows that when you actively focus on gratitude, your brain strengthens neural pathways associated with positive emotions. It becomes easier to notice the good, to feel joy, to appreciate small moments of beauty even when life is imperfect. Without gratitude, the mind naturally drifts toward what is lacking, what is wrong, what is missing. It fixates on problems rather than solutions, on fear rather than possibility. But when you train yourself to look for what is already good, you begin to realize just how much there is to appreciate. Some people believe gratitude is only for those who have enough money, success, love, health. But the truth is, gratitude is not a result of having more. It is a mindset that can be cultivated in any circumstance. There are people with very little who live with deep gratitude, and there are people with everything who feel empty inside. The difference is in perspective. Gratitude is not about waiting for life to be perfect. It is about finding something to appreciate right now, exactly as things are. The science behind gratitude, how it rewires your brain. Gratitude is not just a vague concept. It has a measurable impact on your brain and emotions. Studies show that practicing gratitude activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and long-term happiness. It also reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, making you less reactive to stress. In simple terms, gratitude shifts the brain from survival mode to thriving mode. When you focus on what you lack, your brain is in a constant state of stress and comparison. It is always scanning for problems, threats, and shortcomings. This leads to anxiety, frustration, and dissatisfaction. But when you intentionally focus on gratitude, you activate the brain's reward system, increasing levels of dopamine and serotonin, chemicals that promote happiness and well-being. Over time, this rewiring makes it easier to feel grateful, even in difficult moments. Gratitude also strengthens resilience. When life throws challenges your way, a grateful mindset allows you to navigate them with more grace. Instead of feeling like everything is falling apart, you learn to find silver linings, to recognize that even in hardship, there is still something to be thankful for. This does not mean ignoring pain, but rather balancing it with appreciation for what is still good. How to practice gratitude in daily life. Gratitude is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. It is not just about feeling grateful in random moments, but about intentionally practicing it every day. Here are some simple but powerful ways to incorporate gratitude into your life. Start a gratitude journal. Every morning or night, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They do not have to be big. Small moments of kindness, beauty, or joy count just as much. Over time, this practice trains your brain to seek out and appreciate the good. Express gratitude to others. Tell people how much you appreciate them. Whether it is a friend, family member, or colleague, expressing gratitude strengthens relationships and deepens connections. Reframe negative situations. When something frustrating happens, ask yourself, is there anything good that can come from this? Maybe a setback is teaching you patience, or a difficult experience is making you stronger. This shift in perspective reduces stress and fosters resilience. Savor positive moments. Instead of rushing through life, take a moment to truly appreciate the good. When you experience something joyful, pause and soak it in. This deepens the impact of positive emotions. Gratitude is not about pretending life is perfect. It is about training yourself to see the good, even when things are not perfect. It is about making appreciation a habit, so that your mind naturally gravitates toward what is meaningful rather than what is missing. The power of positive thinking. Shifting your mindset. A positive mindset does not mean ignoring reality or suppressing emotions. It does not mean forcing yourself to be happy when you are struggling. True positivity is about choosing where you focus your energy. It is about training your mind to see possibilities rather than limitations, to seek solutions rather than dwelling on problems, to believe in growth rather than stagnation. Many people live in a default state of negativity, not because life is terrible, but because their minds have been conditioned to focus on what is wrong. They assume the worst, expect failure, and dwell on fears. This mindset is not an accurate reflection of reality. It is a habit of thought, and like any habit, it can be changed. To cultivate a positive mindset, challenge negative thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking in worst-case scenarios, ask yourself, is this really true? Often, our fears are exaggerated and not based on reality. Use positive affirmations. Repeating statements like, I am capable, I can handle this, good things are coming, rewires your brain to believe them. Surround yourself with positivity. Spend time with people who uplift you. Consume media that inspires you, and engage in activities that bring you joy. Take responsibility for your perspective. You may not control everything that happens, but you do control how you interpret it. Choose interpretations that empower you rather than drain you. A positive mindset does not mean ignoring life's difficulties. It means refusing to let them define you. It means consciously shifting your focus toward what strengthens you rather than what weakens you. Gratitude and positivity in hard times, finding light in darkness. It is easy to be grateful and positive when life is going well. The real challenge is maintaining this perspective when things fall apart. How do you practice gratitude when you are grieving? How do you stay positive when life feels unfair? The key is perspective. Even in pain, there is still something to appreciate. Even in loss, there is still love. Even in darkness, there is still light. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it allows you to hold both at the same time, to acknowledge what is difficult while also recognizing what is still beautiful. Some of the most resilient, deeply content people in the world are not those who have had easy lives, but those who have chosen to find meaning in their struggles. They have learned that pain is a teacher, that every challenge contains a lesson, and that even in the worst moments, there is something to hold on to. Gratitude and positivity are not about ignoring hardship. They are about reclaiming your power, refusing to let difficulties steal your joy. They are about shifting your perspective so that even in the hardest times, you can still say, I am here, I am alive, and I will find my way forward. Because at the end of the day, gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It is about how you live, how you see the world, and how you choose to show up every single day. Chapter 8. The role of mindfulness and presence in happiness. It is easy to lose yourself in the rush of life. Your mind is constantly running, replaying the past, worrying about the future, analyzing, judging, planning, regretting. You wake up and immediately check your phone. Your thoughts already flooded with messages, tasks, expectations. You eat without tasting your food, speak without really listening, walk without noticing your surroundings. You are physically present, but mentally, you are somewhere else. And in this constant state of distraction, something precious is lost. The ability to fully experience life as it is happening. Mindfulness is the antidote to this endless mental noise. It is the practice of being fully present, not stuck in the past, not lost in the future, but grounded in the now. Mindfulness is not a vague spiritual concept. It is a practical, scientifically backed approach to increasing happiness, reducing stress, and improving overall well-being. When you are mindful, you are not simply existing, you are living. You are aware of the sensations in your body, the rhythm of your breath, the sounds around you. You are no longer a passive observer of your own life. You are awake to it. Happiness is not something you find in the future. It is not waiting for you in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next destination. Happiness is here, in this moment. But you cannot experience it if you are always elsewhere in your mind. Most of your suffering does not come from what is actually happening, but from your thoughts about what is happening. Your interpretations, your judgments, your mental resistance. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you realize that much of your pain is self-created, a result of your attachment to past regrets or future fears. And the more present you become, the more you reclaim your ability to simply be, without resistance, without unnecessary suffering, without missing the beauty that is right in front of you. The science of mindfulness. How it changes your brain and emotions. Mindfulness is not just a trend. It is a practice with profound psychological and physiological benefits. Studies show that mindfulness physically reshapes the brain, strengthening areas associated with focus, emotional regulation, and resilience, while reducing activity in the parts responsible for stress and anxiety. When you practice mindfulness consistently, your brain becomes less reactive to negative emotions, and you develop greater control over your thoughts and responses. One of the most powerful effects of mindfulness is its ability to reduce overthinking. The human brain generates thousands of thoughts per day, and many of them are repetitive, negative, or completely unnecessary. If you are not mindful, these thoughts can take over, creating unnecessary stress and keeping you stuck in cycles of worry or regret. But mindfulness creates space between you and your thoughts. Instead of being consumed by every fear or negative scenario your mind creates, you learn to observe your thoughts without getting lost in them. This is liberation, the ability to experience life without being controlled by mental chatter. Mindfulness also increases self-awareness. Many people go through life on autopilot, reacting emotionally without understanding why. They feel angry, stressed, or sad, but never pause to investigate what is triggering these emotions. Mindfulness helps you become more aware of your internal landscape, your thoughts, your feelings, your triggers, so that you can respond consciously rather than react impulsively. The more aware you are of your own patterns, the more control you have over them. How to cultivate mindfulness in everyday life. Mindfulness is not just about meditation. It is about bringing presence into everything you do. It is about training yourself to be fully engaged with whatever is in front of you, rather than lost in distractions. Here are some simple but powerful ways to cultivate mindfulness in your daily life. Mindful breathing. Throughout the day, take moments to focus entirely on your breath. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. This simple practice anchors you in the present moment and calms your nervous system. Single tasking. Instead of multitasking, give your full attention to one thing at a time. When eating, focus on the taste of your food. When listening to someone, truly hear them. When walking, feel each step. Body awareness. Pay attention to the sensations in your body. Notice tension, relaxation, warmth, coolness. This helps ground you in the present moment. Observation without judgment. When a thought or emotion arises, do not label it as good or bad. Simply observe it. Let it pass like a cloud in the sky without attachment. Mindful pauses. Throughout the day, take brief pauses to check in with yourself. How do you feel? Where is your attention? Bringing awareness to these moments strengthens mindfulness over time. Mindfulness is not about forcing yourself to be calm all the time. It is about becoming aware of what is happening inside you, so that you can navigate life with greater clarity and peace. Overcoming common barriers to mindfulness. Many people struggle with mindfulness at first. Their minds feel too restless, too chaotic. They believe they are bad at mindfulness because they cannot quiet their thoughts. But mindfulness is not about stopping thoughts. It is about not getting lost in them. The goal is not to have a completely silent mind, but to create space between you and your thoughts so that they do not control you. If you find mindfulness difficult, start small. Begin with just a few minutes of deep breathing. Gradually increase your awareness of daily activities. Do not judge yourself for getting distracted. Simply return to the present moment again and again. Over time, mindfulness becomes easier and its benefits become more profound. Another challenge is impatience. Many people expect instant results and become frustrated when they do not feel immediate peace. But mindfulness is a practice like physical exercise. You do not become physically strong after one workout, and you do not develop deep mindfulness after one session. The key is consistency, practicing presence daily, even in small ways. Over time, it transforms your relationship with yourself and the world. The connection between presence and happiness. When you are mindful, you stop rushing through life. You stop postponing happiness, waiting for the next milestone, the next success, the next external validation. Instead, you begin to find joy in small moments. The warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter, the feeling of deep breaths filling your lungs. You start to experience life rather than just moving through it. True happiness is not about controlling every external circumstance. It is about developing the ability to fully engage with whatever is happening without resistance. The more present you become, the more you realize that joy is not something you need to chase. It is something you allow yourself to feel in the present moment. Mindfulness does not remove all challenges from life. Pain, loss, and uncertainty will still exist. But mindfulness gives you the ability to be with those experiences without being consumed by them. It gives you the strength to navigate difficulty with grace and the clarity to appreciate the beauty that is always present. Because at the end of the day, life is happening now, not in the past, not in the future. Now, the more you embrace this moment, the more you truly live. Chapter 9: Building Healthy Relationships and Strong Social Connections. There is a universal truth about human nature that many of us forget in our pursuit of success, personal growth, or happiness. We are wired for connection. No matter how independent, ambitious, or self-sufficient we try to be, our emotional well-being is deeply intertwined with the quality of our relationships. Humans are social beings by design, and while solitude has its place in self-reflection and growth, long-term happiness is almost always found in the bonds we form with others. Studies show that people with strong supportive relationships tend to live longer, cope with stress better, and experience greater fulfillment in life. But despite the fundamental importance of relationships, many struggle to build and maintain deep, meaningful connections. Why? Because relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or familial, require effort, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence. They require self-awareness, communication skills, and the ability to give and receive love in healthy ways. Too often, people approach relationships with unconscious expectations, unresolved wounds, or patterns learned from dysfunctional past experiences. They seek connection, but fear vulnerability. They want love, but struggle with trust. They crave closeness, but resist intimacy. Understanding and improving relationships is not just about finding the right people. It is about becoming the kind of person who cultivates meaningful, healthy connections. So, what makes relationships fulfilling? What separates fleeting, surface-level interactions from the kind of deep, enriching bonds that provide true emotional nourishment? The answer lies in authenticity, communication, mutual respect, and emotional safety. It is not about finding perfect people. It is about creating an environment where both people feel seen, valued, and emotionally supported. When you learn to nurture relationships with intention, your entire experience of life changes. You feel less alone. You develop a sense of belonging. And most importantly, you cultivate the kind of love, whether in friendships, family, or romance, that sustains you through life's highs and lows. The science of relationships. Why connection matters. From a psychological standpoint, relationships are not just emotionally fulfilling, they are biologically essential. Studies in neuroscience show that human connection releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that fosters trust and emotional closeness. Oxytocin not only strengthens relationships, but also reduces stress, lowers cortisol levels, and enhances overall well-being. This is why people in strong supportive relationships tend to recover from trauma more effectively and experience lower rates of anxiety and depression. On a broader level, relationships provide a mirror for self-discovery. The way you interact with others, your patterns, triggers, and emotional responses reveals more about you than it does about them. If you find yourself repeatedly struggling with trust, conflict, or communication, it is an opportunity to examine your own beliefs and behaviors. Healthy relationships require not just connection, but also self-awareness and personal responsibility. The foundations of healthy relationships. Every strong relationship, whether romantic, friendship, or family-based, is built on core principles that create trust, emotional safety, and mutual respect. These principles are not just nice ideas. They are essential for long-term connection and happiness. Authenticity. Real connection is impossible without authenticity. Pretending to be someone you are not, whether to be liked, accepted, or to avoid conflict, creates shallow, unfulfilling relationships. True bonds are formed when both people feel safe to be their genuine selves. Emotional availability. Many people struggle with connection because they are emotionally guarded. Whether due to past wounds or fear of rejection, they keep others at a distance. But deep relationships require emotional presence, the willingness to show up, be vulnerable, and engage wholeheartedly. Healthy communication. Misunderstandings, resentment, and conflict often stem from poor communication. The ability to express needs, set boundaries, and listen with empathy is essential for relationship success. Mutual respect. Respect means valuing the other person's feelings, perspectives, and autonomy. It means not trying to control, fix, or change them, but rather accepting them for who they are while maintaining your own self-respect. Without these elements, relationships become imbalanced. One person giving too much, another withdrawing, or both people feeling unseen and unfulfilled. When you prioritize these foundational aspects, your relationships become sources of strength rather than stress. How to build meaningful connections. Deep listening. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. True connection happens when you listen with your full attention, without interrupting, judging, or formulating your next argument in your head. When someone feels heard, they feel valued. Expressing appreciation. Never underestimate the power of simple, genuine appreciation. Telling people what you love about them, acknowledging their efforts, and expressing gratitude deepens bonds. Setting boundaries. Healthy relationships require clear, respectful boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting your emotional well-being while maintaining closeness. Quality over quantity. Meaningful relationships are not about having a large social circle. They are about depth. A few deep, genuine connections are far more fulfilling than many superficial ones. Navigating conflict with emotional intelligence. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship, but it is how you handle conflict that determines the strength of your bond. Many people avoid conflict out of fear, while others react impulsively, causing unnecessary damage. Emotionally intelligent conflict resolution involves pausing before reacting. Instead of reacting defensively, take a breath. Ask yourself, what is the real issue here? Using I statements. Instead of blaming, express how you feel. I feel hurt when, rather than you always. Seeking understanding, not victory. The goal of a discussion should not be to win, but to understand each other. Repairing after conflict. Arguments do not have to weaken relationships. If handled correctly, they can strengthen them. Apologizing sincerely, acknowledging each other's feelings, and learning from disagreements deepens trust. Letting go of toxic relationships. Not all relationships are meant to last. Some are unbalanced, draining, or even harmful. Recognizing when a relationship is toxic and having the courage to walk away is an act of self-respect. Signs of unhealthy relationships include constant criticism or belittling, manipulation or emotional games, a one-sided dynamic where only one person invests effort, feeling exhausted rather than uplifted by the relationship. Letting go does not mean you do not care. It means you care enough about yourself to prioritize your well-being. The role of relationships in lasting happiness. At the end of life, people rarely regret not working more hours, making more money, or achieving higher status. What they regret most is not spending more time with the people they love. Relationships are the greatest source of fulfillment in life, but they require intention. They require effort, presence, and the courage to show up as your true self. If you want to build a life rich in love and connection, become the kind of person who fosters deep relationships, someone who listens, who values others, who communicates openly, and who creates emotional safety. Because in the end, happiness is not just about what you accomplish. It is about who you share your life with. Chapter 9. Building healthy relationships and strong social connections. Human connection is at the core of what makes life meaningful. No matter how independent we try to be, no matter how much we pride ourselves on our self-sufficiency, the reality is that we are social beings. From the moment we are born, we seek warmth and touch and a sense of belonging. And as we go through life, it is not our achievements, wealth, or possessions that bring the deepest sense of fulfillment. It is the quality of our relationships. Whether it is the laughter shared with a close friend, the comfort of a loved one's embrace after a difficult day, or the feeling of truly being understood, relationships shape our emotional well-being in ways that nothing else can. But while connection is a fundamental human need, it is not always easy to cultivate. Many people struggle with loneliness despite being surrounded by others. They desire closeness, yet fear vulnerability. They want to be loved, but hesitate to trust. Some find themselves in relationships that feel one-sided or emotionally draining, while others push people away, unsure of how to let themselves be truly seen. The ability to build and maintain meaningful relationships is not just about luck or fate. It is a skill, one that requires self-awareness, effort, and a willingness to grow. The importance of relationships extends beyond mere emotional support. Scientific research consistently shows that strong social connections lead to better mental health, lower stress levels, and even increased lifespan. Loneliness, on the other hand, is as damaging to health as smoking or obesity, increasing the risk of heart disease, depression, and cognitive decline. Relationships have the power to heal, to uplift, to ground us when life feels overwhelming. But for them to do so, they must be rooted in authenticity, mutual respect, and emotional intelligence. True connection does not come from having a large social circle or being surrounded by people. It comes from the depth of the bonds we form, the trust we build, and the spaces we create where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment. Yet, in a world that constantly promotes self-sufficiency, many people see relationships as optional rather than essential. The idea of not needing anyone is often glorified, as though reliance on others is a weakness. But this could not be further from the truth. Independence and connection are not mutually exclusive. The healthiest people are not those who isolate themselves, but those who balance self-reliance with deep, meaningful relationships. They know how to stand on their own, but also recognize the immense value of companionship. They are strong enough to support themselves, but wise enough to allow others to walk beside them. A fulfilling life is not about choosing between independence and connection. It is about knowing that both are necessary. The foundation of strong relationships begins with authenticity. Too often, people shape themselves into what they believe others want them to be, suppressing their true selves out of fear of rejection or judgment. But real connection is impossible without authenticity. When you pretend to be someone you are not, the relationships you form are not built on truth, but on illusion. You may gain approval, but you will never feel truly seen. And there is nothing lonelier than being surrounded by people who do not know the real you. Vulnerability is a risk, but it is also the gateway to genuine connection. When you allow yourself to be open, when you share your thoughts, fears, and dreams without pretense, you give others permission to do the same. This is where real intimacy is born, not from perfection, but from shared humanity. Communication is another pillar of meaningful relationships. Yet, it is one of the areas where people struggle the most. Many conflicts arise not because of deep incompatibility, but because of misunderstandings, unspoken expectations, or the inability to express emotions in a healthy way. Effective communication is not just about speaking. It is about listening, truly listening, without waiting for your turn to respond or formulating your next argument in your head. It is about being present, about understanding not just the words being spoken, but the emotions behind them. It is about expressing yourself honestly, using I statements instead of blame, setting boundaries without fear, and being willing to repair damage rather than letting resentment build. Relationships flourish when both people feel heard, valued, and understood. But even the strongest relationships face conflict. The key is not to avoid conflict, but to handle it with emotional intelligence. When disagreements arise, the way you respond determines whether the relationship will strengthen or weaken. Many people react impulsively, allowing anger or fear to dictate their words and actions. But emotional maturity means pausing before reacting, seeking to understand rather than to win, and prioritizing resolution over being right. It means acknowledging the other person's feelings even when you disagree, apologizing when necessary, and learning from the experience rather than repeating the same destructive patterns. Conflict, when approached with wisdom, does not have to break relationships. It can deepen them, building greater understanding and trust. Another crucial aspect of maintaining healthy relationships is setting and respecting boundaries. Many people struggle with boundaries, either giving too much of themselves until they feel drained or building walls so high that no one can get close. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting your emotional well-being while maintaining connection. They are the lines that define what you are comfortable with, what you will accept, and what you need in order to feel safe and valued. A relationship without boundaries often leads to resentment, while a relationship with clear, healthy boundaries fosters mutual respect. Learning to set boundaries means recognizing that saying no does not make you unkind. It makes you honest. And respecting others' boundaries means understanding that their limits are not a rejection of you, but a reflection of their own needs. While building strong relationships is essential, it is equally important to recognize when a relationship is unhealthy or toxic. Not every relationship is meant to last, and holding on to connections that are one-sided, manipulative, or emotionally harmful does more damage than good. If a relationship constantly drains you, if you feel unheard, belittled, or unappreciated, if you find yourself walking on eggshells to avoid conflict, it may be time to reevaluate its place in your life. Letting go of toxic relationships is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of self-respect. It is understanding that you deserve relationships that uplift you rather than diminish you. It is recognizing that love and friendship should not come at the cost of your peace. Ultimately, relationships are the heart of happiness. At the end of life, people do not look back and wish they had worked more hours or achieved higher status. They reflect on the moments shared with those they loved. They remember the laughter, the support, the warmth of connection. No matter how much success you achieve, how many personal goals you reach, or how strong you become as an individual, your relationships will always be what shape your experience of life. The greatest investment you can make is in the people who matter most, because when you cultivate deep, meaningful connections, you do not just build relationships, you build a life rich in love, understanding, and true fulfillment. Chapter 10. Overcoming Negative Thoughts and Self-Doubt. The battle with negative thoughts is one of the most defining struggles of the human experience. No matter how much success we achieve, how much love we receive, or how much progress we make, there always seems to be an inner voice whispering doubts, reminding us of past failures, or painting worst-case scenarios in our minds. This voice, sometimes subtle, sometimes overwhelming, has the power to shape our self-perception, impact our decisions, and ultimately dictate the quality of our lives. It tells us that we are not good enough, that we will fail, that others are better, smarter, or more deserving of happiness. It feeds fear, anxiety, and hesitation. And if left unchecked, it can create a mental prison that keeps us from fully embracing life. But here's the truth. That voice is not reality. It is not an absolute reflection of who you are or what you are capable of. It is merely a collection of thoughts, most of which are rooted in past experiences, societal conditioning, and deeply ingrained fears. The mind, by nature, is a storyteller. It creates narratives based on what it believes to be true, often distorting reality in the process. And because the human brain has a negativity bias, a survival mechanism that prioritizes potential threats over positive experiences, we are wired to focus more on what could go wrong than what could go right. This is why a single criticism often feels more impactful than a dozen compliments, why one failure can overshadow years of accomplishments, and why self-doubt can feel so overpowering, even in the face of evidence to the contrary. Understanding this is the first step in reclaiming power over your thoughts. If negative thinking is not an absolute truth, but rather a conditioned pattern, then it can be changed. It can be rewired. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You have the ability to observe, challenge, and reshape them. Overcoming negative thinking and self-doubt does not mean never experiencing them again. It means no longer allowing them to control your decisions, dictate your emotions, or define your self-worth. It means learning to recognize when your thoughts are leading you astray and developing the skills to redirect them towards a healthier, more empowering perspective. One of the most effective ways to start shifting your mindset is by becoming aware of the specific thought patterns that fuel negativity. Most negative thinking falls into recognizable patterns, cognitive distortions that create false or exaggerated interpretations of reality. One of the most common is all or nothing thinking, where you see situations in black and white extremes. If you make one mistake, you consider yourself a total failure. If something does not go perfectly, you see it as a complete disaster. This kind of thinking leaves no room for progress, learning, or growth. It reduces everything to success or failure, right or wrong, good or bad, leaving no space for the complexity and nuance that life truly holds. Another common distortion is catastrophizing, where the mind immediately jumps to worst-case scenarios. You make a small mistake at work and assume you will be fired. You send a text and do not receive an immediate response, so you conclude that the person is angry with you. This pattern not only creates unnecessary anxiety, but also reinforces a cycle of fear-based thinking, making it difficult to trust yourself or the world around you. Similarly, personalization leads you to blame yourself for things that are beyond your control. If someone is in a bad mood, you assume it must be because of something you did. If a relationship ends, you believe it is entirely your fault. This habit of taking responsibility for everything, even when external factors are at play, creates an overwhelming sense of guilt and self-blame. One of the most effective ways to combat these distortions is through cognitive reframing, the practice of challenging and changing the way you interpret situations. This does not mean forcing toxic positivity or pretending everything is perfect, but rather learning to see situations from a more balanced, constructive perspective. Instead of saying, "I always mess things up," you can reframe it as, "I made a mistake, but that does not define who I am." Instead of thinking, "Nobody likes me," you can challenge yourself to consider, "Maybe I am feeling disconnected right now, but that does not mean I am unlikable." This shift in thinking creates space for self-compassion, allowing you to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. Another powerful tool for overcoming negative thoughts is self-awareness through mindfulness. Often, negative thoughts take control because they go unnoticed. We operate on autopilot, reacting to them as if they are absolute truth. But when you become an observer of your thoughts, rather than being consumed by them, you gain the ability to question and redirect them. A simple yet powerful practice is pausing whenever a negative thought arises and asking yourself, is this true? Is this thought based on facts or assumptions? Is there another way to view this situation? More often than not, you will realize that your thoughts are exaggerating reality, projecting fears, or replaying old patterns that no longer serve you. Journaling can be an invaluable tool in this process. Writing down your thoughts helps bring clarity, allowing you to see patterns, identify recurring themes, and recognize when your inner dialogue is working against you. When negative thoughts feel overwhelming, put them on paper. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? What triggered this? What evidence do I have that contradicts this thought? By externalizing your thoughts, you create distance from them, making it easier to assess them objectively rather than being swept away by emotion. Equally important is understanding that self-doubt is not a sign of inadequacy. It is a sign of growth. The most successful people in the world experience self-doubt. The difference is, they do not allow it to paralyze them. They move forward despite it. They recognize that fear and uncertainty are natural parts of the journey, not indicators to stop. The truth is, you will never feel fully ready. You will never reach a point where you are completely free of doubt before taking action. The key is learning to move forward anyway, trusting that confidence is built through action, not before it. Another crucial aspect of overcoming negative thoughts is surrounding yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, and the conversations you engage in all shape your mindset. If you are constantly around negativity, whether through toxic relationships, social media, or environments that breed self-doubt, it will reinforce your internal struggles. But when you intentionally seek out uplifting, growth-oriented influences, it becomes easier to cultivate a healthier mindset. Engage in conversations that inspire and uplift you. Read books, listen to podcasts, and follow people who encourage growth and self-belief. Choose an environment that supports the mindset you want to develop. Ultimately, overcoming negative thoughts and self-doubt is not about eliminating them entirely. It is about changing your relationship with them. It is about recognizing that thoughts are not facts, that you have the power to challenge and reshape them, and that your self-worth is not determined by your fears or past experiences. It is about learning to trust yourself, to take action despite uncertainty, and to replace self-criticism with self-compassion. Because when you shift your mindset, you do not just change the way you think, you change the way you experience life. Chapter 11. Cultivating Gratitude and Positivity. Gratitude is one of the most powerful and transformative forces in life. It has the ability to shift your entire perception of the world, to turn what you have into enough, to take even the most difficult moments and find something valuable within them. Yet, for many people, gratitude feels like a distant concept, something they know they should practice, but struggle to genuinely embody. Life's challenges, disappointments, and everyday stressors often make it difficult to appreciate what is going well. The human mind is wired to focus on what is lacking, on what needs fixing, on what is missing, rather than what is present. This is not a personal failing. It is a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, noticing potential threats and dangers was crucial for staying alive. But in modern life, this tendency to focus on the negative often manifests as chronic dissatisfaction, stress, and an inability to truly experience joy. The good news is that gratitude is not something you are either born with or without. It is a skill. It is a mental muscle that can be strengthened, a habit that can be cultivated, and the more you intentionally practice gratitude, the more it begins to shape the way you see the world. Gratitude does not mean ignoring life's difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. It does not mean forcing yourself to be positive when you are struggling or suppressing difficult emotions. True gratitude is about recognizing that even in the midst of challenges, there is always something to appreciate. It is about acknowledging that pain and gratitude can coexist, that hardship does not erase the presence of beauty, and that even on the toughest days, there are still moments of light. One of the biggest misconceptions about gratitude is that it only applies to big, life-changing events: the job promotion, the dream vacation, the major milestone. But the most powerful form of gratitude comes from appreciating the small, everyday moments that are often overlooked. The warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of laughter from a loved one, the comforting taste of a favorite meal, a quiet moment of peace in an otherwise busy day. These are the moments that make up life, and when you learn to find gratitude in them, your entire experience of life shifts. Instead of constantly chasing more, you begin to realize that more is already here. One of the simplest and most effective ways to cultivate gratitude is through a daily gratitude practice. This does not have to be complicated. Just taking a few moments each day to reflect on what you are grateful for can have a profound impact on your mindset. Some people find it helpful to keep a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things they are thankful for each morning or before bed. Others prefer to express gratitude out loud, sharing it with a partner, friend, or even just themselves. The key is consistency. The more you make gratitude a daily habit, the more it becomes second nature. And over time, you will find that even in difficult moments, your mind naturally begins to search for something to appreciate rather than something to complain about. Another powerful way to cultivate gratitude is by shifting the way you speak about your life. Words have immense power. They shape your thoughts, your emotions, and your overall perspective. Often, people unknowingly reinforce negativity through their language. They say things like, "I have to go to work," instead of, "I get to go to work." They complain about responsibilities rather than recognizing them as privileges. Simply changing the way you phrase things can create a significant mental shift. Instead of saying, "I have so much to do," try saying, "I am grateful for the opportunities I have today." Instead of complaining about a workout, reframe it as, "I am thankful that my body is strong enough to move." These small shifts in language may seem insignificant, but over time, they train your brain to focus on appreciation rather than frustration. Beyond shifting your thoughts and words, gratitude is also about action. Expressing gratitude to others not only strengthens relationships, but also deepens your own sense of appreciation. Think about the last time someone genuinely thanked you for something. It probably felt good, maybe even unexpectedly so. A simple thank you has the power to brighten someone's day, to make them feel seen and valued. Yet, in the rush of daily life, many people forget to express appreciation. They assume others know how much they care, or they let small acts of kindness go unnoticed. But making a habit of expressing gratitude to a friend, a partner, a colleague, or even a stranger creates a cycle of positivity. The more you give gratitude, the more you feel it, and the more you feel it, the more it grows. Of course, practicing gratitude is easy when things are going well. The real challenge and the real transformation comes in finding gratitude during difficult times. When life feels overwhelming, when you are facing loss, disappointment, or uncertainty, gratitude may be the last thing on your mind, but it is during these moments that gratitude becomes most powerful. It does not erase pain, but it gives you the strength to move through it. It does not deny struggle, but it reminds you that struggle is not the whole story. Even in hardship, there are still things to be grateful for. Acts of kindness, moments of peace, lessons learned. And often, it is through the hardest moments that the deepest gratitude is born. Consider the times in your life when you have faced difficulty. At the moment, it may have felt unbearable, but looking back, you may also see growth. You may realize that certain challenges led you to new opportunities, that certain setbacks forced you to develop resilience, that certain losses deepened your appreciation for what remains. This is not to say that pain should be romanticized or that every struggle has a silver lining. Some pain is simply pain. But even in the darkest times, gratitude can be a light, a reminder that life, despite its difficulties, still holds beauty. Another key aspect of cultivating gratitude and positivity is being intentional about where you place your attention. In today's world, negativity is everywhere. News cycles filled with fear, social media that promotes comparison, conversations that dwell on complaints rather than solutions. It is easy to be consumed by negativity without even realizing it. But just as you can train your mind to focus on gratitude, you can also train it to seek positivity. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect, but it does mean choosing what you engage with. Pay attention to the information you consume. Are you constantly exposing yourself to negativity? Or are you seeking out content that inspires, uplifts, and educates? Are the people around you reinforcing gratitude and optimism? Or are they trapped in cycles of complaining and pessimism? You cannot always control your external environment, but you can control what you give your energy to. Ultimately, gratitude and positivity are not just feelings, they are choices. They are practices that require intention and effort. But the more you cultivate them, the more they become your natural state of being. And when gratitude becomes your foundation, everything changes. You no longer need to chase happiness because you realize it is already here. You no longer feel like life is something to endure, but something to appreciate. You begin to see the world not through a lens of scarcity, but through a lens of abundance. Because when you truly embrace gratitude, you are not just changing your mindset, you are changing your entire experience of life.